สบายดีท่านผู้ชมที่เคารพที่นี่สถานีโทรทัศน์ iFreedomTV ทำการออกอากาศจากเมืองสไปโรรัฐโอคลาโฮมาประเทศสหรัฐอเมริกาข้าพเจ้าริชาร์ด สมอนมานั่งแก็บทำรายการท่านผู้ชมที่เคารพมื้อนี้พวกเราก็มามีวิดีโอข้าพเจ้ามีวิดีโอเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของการเมืองท้องถิ่นพี่น้องเลยอยู่ในเมืองสไปโรโอคลาโฮมาพี่น้องที่ข้าพเจ้ามีจุดประสงค์ที่จะเอานำวิดีโอนี้มาออกอากาศก็เพื่อว่าทางข้าพเจ้าต้องการให้ทางพี่น้องได้เห็นเนาะพี่น้องเนาะว่าอยู่ในต่างแดนเวลาพวกเพิ่นมีการเมืองท้องถิ่นเพิ่นบุกนักบุกหนากันแท้บ่เอาเปรียบเอารัดอีสังกันบ่และอีสังต่างๆนี่พวกเพิ่นจะมีการดีเบตพี่น้องบ่หมายเขาว่าจะต้องไปเว้าโจมตีกันซื่อๆและเพิ่นจะต้องมีดีเบตกันหน้าต่อหน้าเด้อพี่น้องเด้ออันนี้แหละที่ว่าพวกเฮาอยากจะให้พี่น้องได้เห็นว่าพวกเพิ่นนี่มาให้คำมั่นสัญญากับประชาชนแบบใดจะต้องโต้วาทีดีเบตกันแบบใดและอีสังต่างๆเพิ่นจะเทคเทิร์นกันขึ้นไปเว้าไปว่าและหลังจากเพิ่นได้เป็นได้ดังสมใจนึกแล้วว่าจังซี่เสียได้เป็นผู้ต่างหน้าประชาชนแล้วเพิ่นจะปฏิบัติตามที่เพิ่นให้คำมั่นสัญญาหรือบ่หรือว่าเพิ่นจะบ่ให้อันนั้นเพิ่นจะบ่ปฏิบัติตามหลังจากนั้นประชาชนก็จะบ่เลือกเอาในสุดที่2นั่นแหละในครั้งนี้นี่ข้าพเจ้าก็ได้มีโอกาสที่ไปถ่ายเอามาพี่น้องเอ้ยทำอิฐข้าพเจ้าก็จะลงดนเติบแล้วล่ะแต่ว่าด้วยเหตุผลที่ว่าอินเทอร์เน็ตอยู่ที่ผู้ละพี่น้องที่เฮือนของข้าพเจ้ามันบ่แห้งเพียงพอหลังจากนั้นข้าพเจ้าก็ได้เอามาลงอยู่ในพี่น้องเลยเอามาลงอยู่ที่สถานีใหญ่พี่เพื่อให้พี่น้องได้เห็นและก็เฮียนฮู้ร่วมกันพี่น้องว่าบ้านเมืองของเพิ่นเวลาเพิ่นโต้วาทีกันเพิ่นให้สังเพิ่นนั่นใส่ความเว้าแบบหุนแฮงบ่แล้วบ่หุนแฮงแต่ว่ามื้อนี้นี่ถ้าหากว่าคันว่าทางภาพและวิดีโอถ้าว่าขาดตกบกพร่องประการใดก็ต้องขอโทษขออภัยด้วยพี่น้องเด้อเพราะว่าทางเสียงและก็กล้องก็เป็นกล้อง GoPro พี่น้องเอ้ยกล้อง GoPro ไม่นี่แหละพี่น้อง GoPro 8 number 8พี่น้องเอ้ยและบัดนี้ไมโครโฟนกับ extension และข้าพเจ้าอยู่ไกลเด้พี่น้องอยู่ไกลแปลว่ายิงวิดีโอไปว่าซั่นซะแต่ข้าพเจ้าก็ลองกล้องนำคือการลองกล้องลองไมโครโฟนลองทุกอย่างพี่น้องก็เลยเอามารันออกสถานีว่ากล้อง GoPro 8 นี้จะออกดีขนาดใดพี่น้องฟังไปพร้อมๆกันเด้อพี่น้องเด้อเฮียนไปพร้อมกันพี่น้องเลยไปทางใดแล้วเนาะพี่น้องเนาะแล้วก็หลังจากนี่แล้วก็จึงค่อยมาว่ากันใหม่พี่น้อง
I know everybody's out there willing to help on all of it, but I think working together is a big thing, being with community leaders and listening to what the public's got to tell us, and just help them the best we can.
Thank you. So we'll start with Mr. Edwards on this one. What is your vision for the Sheriff's Department, and what internal changes do you feel need to be made to create and maintain a high standard of professional behavior?
The change I'm on right now is try to put on more deputies. I've already went a couple of the commissioners to ask if I could at least have 4 more deputies in the next 4 years. Whether we're going to get that or not, whether the money's going to allow us that, I don't know. It's kind of a long shot. If I get one out of that, it's going to be a blessing. We are working on more training. We have most of our in-house training. Most officers they do the training. We've got them certified to do the training. We are going to try to go outside of the department and get more training.
All right, same question next. What is your vision for the Sheriff Department, and what internal changes do you feel need to be made to create and maintain a high standard of professional behavior?
I believe that they need to be personnel changes. I believe that on the SOP, standard operation procedures need to be looked at. The budget, we have to look at it. I mean, we have to get out there and communicate with other places, try to get grants, get any kind of funding that we can. And it just not just for the law enforcement out there on the street. You know, there's so many other things. You know, through the juvenile detention, through the DARE programs. I mean, we can't get it right off the bat, but you have to have, you know, the people to go after these things. They're either going to tell us yes or no, whether we put in for $100, $100,000, whatever it might be. It'll take time. But I think if you have the right people out there and the training repetitively, you know, that if you have everyone trying to get the funding and all, you can't go wrong. I mean, they're going to tell you no on some stuff, but there's a lot of stuff they're not. And I'm telling you, we bring a lot to the table. I mean, we really do. So, I just don't, I don't think that we need to be idle on anything, because when you're competing for any of this, it's just like a sport, you know. When you put in the state, the federal government, it's first come, first served. And you better cross your T's and dot your I's, because they'll set it, you know, right on the side. But there's so many things out there. I know I've communicated with other agencies and all, so we can do it.
I'll repeat the same question. What is your vision for the Sheriff's Department, and what internal changes do you feel need to be made to create and maintain a high standard of professional behavior?
Well, I've said it at the first two debates we've had. The biggest vision I have is building our trust back with the community here in the county. We have got to build those relationships with the citizens here in the county. We have to build relationships with the police departments in the county.
So, tell us who you are, what you're about.
Whoops. My name is Mike Sullivan. I'm running for state representative. I was born in Flore. I'm a lifelong resident of Flore County. The day after I graduated from law school, I moved my family to Spiro and started my law practice here. Two of my children started school here, and we lived here until I got appointed assistant county attorney. Then we moved to Poto. I married a Hebrew girl, and we were married 55 years and 6 days before she died of cancer in 2015. We had 4 children, 3 of them live in Poto. One of my sons, Mark, got killed in the line of duty working for the CIA in 2005. In addition to some of my services as state representative, I also served 14 years on the Board of Education in Poto. I served 3 years on the Oklahoma Ethics and Merit Commission, a 1-year term as chairman of the Multi-State Regional Highway Committee, 8 years as district attorney, and during my service as state representative, I was selected by the Speaker and my colleagues as first assistant majority leader. 3 years in a row, I was selected as the top representative from the state of Oklahoma by the press and by my colleagues. Some of the legislation that we passed while I was there, and I authored most of it, passed most of it. We converted Poto Community College to Carlisle State College. Poto Community College, when we did this, had 8 employees, including the janitor. They now have well over 100 employees, one of the largest payrolls in the county. I authored and passed a bill to create a branch of the Oklahoma University Medical School in Tulsa. I authored and passed a bill to create the Osteopathic Medical School in Tulsa. I passed a bill to make mandatory kindergarten for all children, giving everybody an equal start and an equal chance. I reduced the student-teacher ratio down 26 to 1. It was 35 to 1. I changed all the state colleges to state universities. Looks very much better on the resumes of all those getting out of school when they go out of state to apply for a job that's graduated from university. With all that I did and we did while I was up there, and all that's been done since, we still have a great problem in the state of Oklahoma with education. When I served, we were 6th in the nation in student testing. Today we're 40th in the nation in student testing. Now, that's a big problem. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to find out what the answer is. if I'm elected, I'm gonna introduce a resolution to appoint a 10-person task force to be charged with the duty of going to at least three of the top 10 states in the union to see what they're doing that we're not doing, or what we're not doing that we should be doing, and find out what the problem is, and let them report back to the governor and the legislature, and let us take action to correct that, and get down to 20%. Let me tell you this, if you got a 4-point student in Spiro, Oklahoma, who's valedictorian, and they want to study something that's not offered in one of the universities in Oklahoma, like some of those science programs, they can't get in. They can't get in Stanford and Vanderbilt, Yale and Harvard, because they're not 20%, they won't even look at them. Well, that's a big problem. And I'm gonna look at getting us back into the 20. When I was in the House, we had the best road program in the state of Oklahoma and the best that's ever been in District 3. We had 61 projects started or completed by the last 2 years, covered 261 miles of resurfacing, had new roads from Holo to Heber, Holo to Worcester, and Cola to Arcoma. How much?
30 seconds.
How much?
30 seconds.
Well, I had something else to say, but anyway, during this campaign, I've had an opportunity to drive around on the county roads, and they're in horrible shape. And I have a program coming out, as soon as I get some recipe information from the tax commission, that I can solve that for whoever's gonna be elected county commission and the commissioners, and it includes no new taxes, so whoever tells you that, it doesn't. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening. I'm Rick Wade. I live down in Heber. I'm running for state representative. Served in the legislature 2017 and 2018. And I'm running again now. The reason I'm running again is because the other day I was out in the district. That's what I love to do. Talking to the people, knocking on their door. Run into a man. He was building a chicken coop. Kind of familiar with chickens, so I went up to him and I said, I'm Rick West, running for state representative. He looked at me right behind and said, what are you doing here? I said, I come to visit with you, I want to talk to you. He said, you guys don't care nothing about people like me. I said, well, I do. I care a lot about you, that's why I'm here. He said, I've never done that. I'm nobody. I said, yeah, you're somebody. God created you, you're somebody. I said, don't talk that you're not anybody, that you're worthless. He said, well, my grandkids think something of it. I said, so you're worth something? He said, but you guys, you politicians, you don't care about people like me. He said, the only people you care about are those that are a little smarter than me, a little wealthier than me, a little more important than me. And I told him, I was going to tell you something. You're just as important to me as anybody in this district. And I said, you're the kind of fellow that I want to represent. Because without a state representative that cares something about you, you don't have nothing. And I said, when I get elected, I said, you bring them 12 grandkids to the cabin. And I said, I'll take them down on the house floor and we'll have a big time. And I'll just show you how important you are to me, being your state representative. He said, well, I've worked for 30 years. And I said, yeah, there you go. You worked for 30 years and you're retired. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to try to tell you is we have a lot of people in this district that don't feel like they're worthy to even be represented, but they are. Those are the ones that we need to lift up. Those are the ones that we need to go and knock on their doors and tell them that they are important and they mean something and they're a vital part of this county. Because this guy was serious. I mean, he looked me right square in the eye. He said, what are you doing here? Because he doesn't feel worthy of a state representative or a candidate for state representative coming to his house. He said, you're the first one that's ever done it. I said, well, I appreciate that. So what I'm telling you is, I'm running for state representative for this whole district. Everybody in this district, whether they are rich or poor or live at the end of the road or whatever, I want to be their state representative. There's been a time in my life when I didn't think I was worth a whole lot, but I overcame that. There was a time in my life that I really looked at people and thought, yeah, you're worth something. You're definitely worth something. And so I just say that appreciate y'all coming tonight. I hope you know my heart. I want to be a servant to this district, and appreciate your vote. Thank you.
I'll say hello to everybody. Good evening, and thank the church here for putting this on, and the City of Spiro, Chamber of Commerce. Also want to welcome all those that are watching online. I know that we've got a pretty sizable crowd that's here today, but normally when we have these events and they're streamed online, we have a couple thousand. Also want to thank the people that are here that have come to support me, those that have driven from a distance away. And I'll talk a little bit about why they showed up as we go along. I serve as the state representative for District 3. I was elected in 2018, and I grew up in Panama, Oklahoma, just down the road. My mother grew up here in Spiro. We, I think all of us understand how difficult it is in rural Oklahoma, especially southeast Oklahoma, how it can be financially from time to time. I don't know, there's a lot of talk about not caring, a lot of talk about only caring about those that have a great deal. But when I look at the service that I have rendered over the last 20 months almost now, I didn't look at this job as a job that is going to catapult me, it's going to make me somebody. I worked 15 years in education. I worked 27 years in business. And in both of those vocations, I spent a great deal of time doing what I could to make the area better and to be able to be helpful to others. I was able to, after graduating from Panama, went to Flore Junior College. From there I went to Northeastern State University. Was able to get my associate's at Pogo, my bachelor's at
Well, because right now some of them are so great. As far as doing the money in the budgets, there's a lot of things we can look at the budget and say, yeah, we can cut this, cut that there, we need to add this here or whatever. But we will touch a lot on federal grants. There's a COPS program, there's an overtime program.
Northeastern. Position of helping people, and it's all about service. One of the first things that I was asked to help on was a water problem we had in Heaton, Oklahoma. I was familiar with it from 25 years earlier, and I knew that it was a very difficult situation, but I made up my mind we were going to do something about that. Now, I don't understand why the legislator who lived in that district before me didn't attempt to do anything, or the one before him that lived in the district didn't attempt to do anything, or the other one. In fact, there were 4 or 5 in that area that didn't do anything at all. But we got state agency DEQ involved. The company was fined with 27 violations, $3 million. And it won't be long, I'll be proud to go testify for the state of Oklahoma against that company that did damage to the people in Hebron. If you've got a problem with DHS, I get calls and I go to work on it. If you got a problem from tourism that you're gonna have to pay a parking fee to go swim, I'm all over it. I don't think there's anybody that communicates any more than me, lets people know how to get a hold of me. I always tell them my cell number, 918-649-3142. I served in the 57th, and I plan on being the legislator in the 58th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you three will go ahead and take place at the microphone, we'll ask you the same questions each of you.
Okay, this question is, what is your stand on education? And specifically, we're talking about standardized testing and school choice. Charter schools versus public schools is the example that we've got here. Rick, will you start with that, please?
Sure. Any time that you have taxpayer dollars going into any kind of agency, special schools, charter schools, there needs to be accountability. It's one of the things that we need to look at more and more is accountability of the tax dollars that are being spent. Charter schools are public schools. And the only way a charter school can come into the district is for the local school board to vote it in. Now, there was one case where the state school board overrode the local school board when they voted no. I think one of the things about charter school is I'm a huge fan of local control of schools, and there's no school board. Which takes it out of the hands of the local people. I think that when you look at charter schools, they are here. They serve a function. I'm for parental choice. I believe in homeschooling. I believe in public school. I believe in charter school. I believe in private school. But it kind of gets tricky when you start talking about accountability for the money that's being spent, and we need to realize that. I think that it's what parents need. I trust parents. I think parents know what's best for their child, and I think they will make the right decisions for the child, and all options need to be open to them. With that said, again, I think that accountability is important when we're talking about state funding. So with that said, with the option for parental choice, local control, parent involvement, I think those are the things that we need to look at. Parents know better than government. Parents know better than legislators what their child needs and what his needs are where he can fulfill his God-given potential.
Thank you. I point out for those of you that don't know, Rick and Lundy are running on the Republican ticket, and Mike is running on the Democratic ticket. Okay, Mike, same question. What is your stand on education? Please talk about standardized testing and school choices, for example, charter schools and public schools.
I'm a strong advocate of public schools. I'm not for anything that takes any money away from public schools and gives any other type of education system. Charter schools have no accountability to anybody, and they do take money away from public schools. So my position is that they want to send their kids to a charter school or a private school, and they all pay the tuition to send them there. And then they would be accountable. I think some way I want them to be accountable because kids are entitled to know know where they stand in relation to other kids. So I'm a strong public assistance guy.
Very well. Same question, where you stand on education? We talked about standardized testing in school choices, for example, charter schools versus public schools.
Happy to do that. As a public school teacher for 15 years, I had an opportunity to see the strengths and also the weaknesses of what we had in public education. I also saw a change when it went to homeschool, and we went over to the charter schools and then to the virtual schools. And I'll give you exactly my attitude on them and where I'm at with it. I also understand that we have a lot of people that send their kids to school. Some of them are going to metropolitan areas where it is difficult for them to get a good education. It's just hard. Not a lot of discipline, a lot of problems. They may come up, and the people that had money were able to pull them out and take them to a private school. We went from private school then over to the charter school, the virtual school. And I'll be honest with you, I have trouble calling a virtual charter school public education. That's because I grew up in brick and mortar. And with that, I know that we have to have standardized testing, and I've also know and accept that not all students are built for brick and mortar. I will tell you what I am not what I'm not for. Even though your virtual charter schools are public schools, I am not for them getting the same dollar amount as a brick and mortar school. They have a computer, they have a teacher that may teach hundreds of students, and all they gotta do is log on so many times, and it's done. So I think there's a lot of accountability that is not there. And with the virtual charter schools, I've had discussions with them, we've had meetings, they know exactly where I'm at. I've worked and tried to work with them. I had 2 bills introduced. One, you don't give a charter school teacher a $1,000 bonus for recruiting. That is the most asinine thing I've ever seen. The other thing, when you turn on the news, if you're in Oklahoma and you get up on the news, you'll watch advertising every night. The one charter school that I have a lot of conversations with, and I respect those people, have a budget of $800,000 tax dollars to go for that. There's no accountability now. There's FBI investigation on the computers. Do we need them? Yes. What I like are the public schools that are now starting to counter the brick and mortar. They're starting to counter with their own charter schools. And those are the ones that I think will do well. Now, I don't think they ought to get the same dollar. They ought to get the same dollar as the other, but we still have a ways to go, and I know there's a lot of members in the legislature that feel exactly like I do. So we'll continue to work on it.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Sullivan on this question. What are the top 2 issues that you would address as state representative that would most benefit this district?
Education and roads. As I stated a while ago, all those things that we passed when I was there, all those things have been done since. Now, I know we have still teachers that do anywhere in the United States, and I know our kids are just as smart as they are anywhere in the United States, but we've got to find out why they're not testing better and get that problem solved. Now, I want to tell you about the road projects that I started to tell you a while ago. Our road projects, if you travel anywhere in this district, our state roads are not up to par either. If you've got a system, if you want to attract industry into your county or into your town, you got to have 4 or 5 things. You got to have a workforce, you got to have good churches, you got to have good schools, and play areas for them, as well as roads. We got everything except the roads. You can't expect somebody to locate a plant in Poto down at the old cracker plant, which is set vacant, 400,000 square building after they moved off. When they can't get their trucks and finished products out there without tearing them up, now they just won't come. They simply won't come if that's what they got, and that's what we have. We're not getting our fair share. Today, the Department of Transportation in Oklahoma, because of tax increases 3 or 4 years ago, have more money than they ever have had, even when I served. But we're not getting our fair share of it. It's simple as that. Somebody's got to go up there and tell those people, we're not Arkansans, we're not Texas, we're Oklahomans. And we deserve our fair share. We deserve the right to travel on safe and fair roads and good roads. And somewhere down the road, we need to get that over going across to them. Now that's the 2 education I've already told you that I'm a firm believer of. All the many bills that we passed, and within Carlisle State College, 87% of the high school graduates in this area go to Carlisle State College. And that is a monumental thing for this area. That's why I'm so proud of that school, and so proud that I was able to get it into the state system where all our credits are transferred to other schools too. So that's my 2 positions right there.
Thank you. Mr. Kiger, same question. What are the top 2 issues that you would address as state representative that would most benefit this district?
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the cracker plant is not empty, it hasn't been empty for a while now. And, but if I look at the top 2 things that we need for our district, there's no doubt education is always number 1. Without education, we don't have anything at all. When you look at anything past education, there are a lot of different things. I agree with what was said just a moment ago on the roads. We do have road projects that have been moved up in the 8th year, especially west of Sunset Corner. That is the priority. We got road projects over Tacoma that are getting ready to take place in July. But I'll tell you the number 1 thing right now, and I think everybody would agree with it, is the need for additional health care. We fight every day, and I mean every day, in keeping the hospital. We fight every day on the hospital, the nurse practitioners, and the others getting the reimbursement from insurance companies that they're supposed to get. I had a call today with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and in that call it comes from 2 issues that we had earlier. Blue Cross and some of the larger insurance companies, when you look at Integris or anybody else that's in the city, and their claim is paid to the hospital, the doctors, it's anywhere from 200 to 260% of the bill. But when EOMC turns in their bill, it's 60%. Now somebody doesn't have to be real smart to figure out that you can go broke on doing that, and that's what we did. Had a House bill that passed 94 to nothing to be able to give small rural hospitals not 250, not 260, but 100%, just 100%. Passed 94 to 0, and then we ended up, we lost most of the session with the COVID. We were down on what we need to do. We'll try that again next year. Rural hospitals, and we had that discussion today. We have got to make sure that we have them, because if we don't, we have $12 million in Medicaid money going from here in this county over to Arkansas to Fort Smith. And we all like our neighbors. We enjoy that we've got facilities to do things that our hospital can't. But we have a state question that's coming up, 802. It's going to be the only thing that's going to keep the hospital going. We had a chance for Medicaid 2.0, and it fell apart when it got to the governor's desk. We were able to get that done. So you're going to vote, and there are a lot of people in a situation that don't have the medical coverage that they need. Medicaid 2.0, we funded it, and it would have taken care of a lot of people. So now it's going to be in the hands of the voters for you to decide what you want to do on state question 802.
Thank you. Mr. West, same question. What are the top 2 issues that you would address as state representative that would most benefit this district?
Well, I think what both of these guys said sure enough affect our district. I think being in the legislation for 2 years, you know, I saw the effect of our government and our legislators when lobbyists, special interest groups, and PACs take over legislators. Most legislators, when they get elected for the first time, they've been on the road campaign trail, they've knocked on doors, get there, the lure of power, the lure of money, and the lure of being, called state representative every day. They get in there and they do not, listen anymore to their constituents. They want to be, popular up there. And so what they end up doing is they start voting with leadership, they start voting with special interests. They don't read their bills, they don't know, they don't communicate back to the district, to the people that these bills involve. And so therefore what happens is, District 3 or District 7, their legislators do not read their bills and do not vote their district. They end up voting for the special interests, from the city. That's just not District 3's problem, that's the whole state of Oklahoma. I have seen it, it is amazing, these guys that do that. That's a severe problem in the state of Oklahoma, when lobbyists and special interest groups do that. I don't take any of their money. The first time I run, I did. I thought I had to, but I figured this deal out. I had backbone enough to stand up against it. I don't take lobbyist money, I don't take special interest money. When I get to the Capitol, I'm not gonna take any meals. They pay $154 a day to live up there, and if Carlisle comes up and wants to take me out to lunch and talk about Carlisle, I can buy my own lunch. I'm telling you, that is a severe, big problem in the state of Oklahoma. It's lobbyist and lobbyist money.
Lundy, we'll start with you on this one. And, same question we asked at each one of you men. Now that each of you have spent at least one term in office, what are the biggest challenges you believe you will need to overcome to accomplish the needs of this district?
Well, let me begin with saying, I don't really know where my opponent comes from on things that he says about being in Oklahoma City and everybody's going to fall into the money, the fame, and everything goes along with it. I went to Oklahoma City for 23 years. If I don't go to Oklahoma City, when I was working that job and they cancel a meeting, that thrilled me to death. I don't get any big power surge of being